Hello, my friends. Periodically, astrology appears in the news. There's some event or some development involving astrology. People often come to me because of my experience in research and in teaching and with astrological organizations. What do I think of this? Well, let me tell you about a new development and my opinion about it. So the new development that I'm referring to is that in this summer, I'm making this video in the spring of 2024, this summer in 2024, Bumble, which is this huge dating service, millions of people using it, they're going to introduce astrology. Now, some years ago, they do give people's sun sign, but now they're going to do more than just give the sun sign. They're going to give information and featuring it on Tuesdays. They're calling it Astrology Tuesdays. What do I think of this? Astrology going into this huge business, reaching millions of people. Wow. What's going to happen? My view of it is, it's going to be harmful. And I'm going to explain why. And this is going to help us understand what astrology is, what goes on in astrology. Some of the information I'm going to give is going to be surprising, even to astrologers, that there's things going on in astrology that a lot of people don't know about. So first, let's go over what Bumble is going to do. Here's a quote from their website. Starting July 12, okay, so it's July 12, anyone using Bumble in the U.S. will notice an astrology channel within the conversation screen in Bumble's date mode. There you'll begin receiving weekly curated astrology content for your astrological sign each Tuesday. Okay, so they're going to release it only in the United States, this information using astrology to help you pick a person to meet and to date. Now, how big is Bumble? This blew my mind. In 2023, the amount of money that they took in, the total revenue coming in, $1 trillion. So this is astrology going out on a large scale, reaching a lot of people who are going to use this. Now, do we have any information about zodiac signs and dating? Very often astrology is just looked at as a belief system, kind of entertainment, not part of academia or serious research. But actually astrology can be approached in a rigorous way to figure out what's going on and how it works. And we do have information on zodiac signs in specifically marriage relationships. We have a lot of information. This is not widely known. It doesn't get talked about much in astrological communities of any kind, but it's true, it's happening. What does astrology say about zodiac signs and specifically marriage? Is there a connection when you do the research? Well, fortunately, we have some very compelling information that gives us high confidence in telling us if there's actually anything to zodiac signs and picking marriage partners. Not that everybody dating wants to get married, but if you're married, obviously something brought you together, you were attracted to each other. Is there anything going on? Boy, here's the amazing thing. Mikel and Françoise Gauquelin, two French researchers, collected huge amounts of data. And among all the data they collected are over 20,000 married couples. That's over 40,000 people. These were husbands and wives, and they have the data of one or more children from the married couple. They got this from hospital records. They are recorded birth times. This is golden. Over 20,000 couples. Date, time, place. Is what's bringing them together. Did the stars align for them that made them drawn to each other? And when you have over 20,000 couples, even the tiniest, slightest little connection will show up. You know, if you're familiar with research methods, you know that what we call the power of the test increases as the sample size gets larger. When you have a sample size of 20,000, you can detect the slightest little thing bringing them together. So was there anything aligning in the sky to bring these people together? It's so exciting that people have collected this data and they've analyzed it. So in 2011, an astrology researcher, Kyosti Tarvainen, is a PhD in mathematics. He's done extensive, huge amounts of research. He analyzed the data. The data is available. He went through it looking, wow, do fire signs marry each other, and earth signs, and all these ideas astrologers have. And again, even if it's the tiniest little bitty bit, you will detect it in the research. So, what we're saying is if people are married, obviously something drew them together. Not every marriage is wonderful and perfect. But with this much data, any inclination of drawing people together, we're going to detect it. So what he found is that there are astrological connections. Oh my God. If you think astrology is like totally nonsense and ridiculous, what Kyosti found is as he presents it, some indication that there might be, not that there definitely is, but there might be something. I reanalyzed his data. I don't think his results are quite as strong as he says they are, but I also analyzed the data independently using a different model of astrology, what we call this vibrational astrology or vibrational cosmobiology. Also found, if you're familiar with statistical terminology, P less than 0.001 on very elegant, simple formulas based on astrological theory. We built models that show it looks very promising. We need to collect more data. We need to test these models against new data. This is what research is about. I'm not saying it's definite, but what I'm saying is people have actually built models that are compelling, people that have expertise in research methods. So, wow, it might sound wonderful that you can go to Bumble as a dating service and use the astrology, and we have some confidence, not huge confidence, but some evidence that the astrology could be useful. But, okay, that would be the good part of it. The bad news is that those connections found between the married couples by both Kyosti and myself have nothing to do with zodiac signs. Oh, darn it. So it ends up that we have no evidence from research, carefully conducted research, that zodiac signs have anything to do with the selection of marriage partners. This is why I think, and there's more I'm going to say about this, that Bumble introducing sun signs into their service, of course it's optional, you don't have to go there. People will say, oh, what's the big deal? If you want to use it, use it. Well, why use information that there's no support for? Why would I have an option in any software to use something that doesn't work? You might say, well, I need to get electrical work done in my house. Well, I'll just call any old person who's got any weirdo idea that there's no evidence for. It makes no sense. Why offer this kind of information? Also, we could offer astrological information that there is support for. Why does astrology have to be such a goofy, weirdo thing that is just people's opinions? It doesn't have to be. People actually analyze it in accordance with modern evidence-based practices and use data and apply it with people and find out. So what's going on with Bumble is, well, to be blunt about it, the nonsense that's going on all the time with pop astrology. People just saying things because it feels right, because their anecdotal evidence seems to support it. That's, would you have plumbing done? You have the plumber come into your house and say, well, it works for me, it's just fine, You have the electrician just say, well, this is something that I think works in my experience. And, you would hope that they would do some more careful analysis, like how many times was, their electrical problem over certain periods of time or something, not just some subjective personal impressions. What if medicine was done that way, etc.? This is what's going on in astrology. We just accept it as an innocent thing that people can believe in if they want to. But the problem is, we have data showing that there's no support for these ideas, and people are making decisions based on it. Okay, so I analyzed the data, as I said, of the 20,000 married couples. Like Kyosti, I also found astrological connections between the charts of husbands and wives. And like Kyosti, none of the relationships involve zodiac signs. What they do involve, I've got videos about that if you want to watch that, the things that we have. Let's put it this way. We're building a model that there's some confidence that that model could conceivably work. There's actually pretty good evidence. And there's other kinds of research, like on the bipolar disorder, where we have very high confidence. So the idea that astrology works, we actually have very strong support for that, believe it or not. Support based on a modern evidence-based practice. So again, even if the married couples had an extremely slight tendency to pick an appropriate marriage partner, the research would detect this. Either people pick marriage partners randomly in terms of astrology zodiac signs, or the astrology zodiac signs have a negligible effect on marriage and romantic compatibility. It's negligible to nothing. It's not worth looking at. So I'm just making these slides. Would you have a plumber come to your house? This works for me, in my opinion. It's not good enough in the 21st century. We should be taking these things more seriously and looking at them carefully. And the fact is we are doing that. We, Kyosti Tarvena, myself, other people, actually looking at the data. In my case, we train people, we work with clients, we apply the ideas, we use the same principles that are used in psychology and other fields for a full evidence-based practice. These are things that meet the criteria of modern times. Why is astrology still living in this world of just personal beliefs? And there's something else I want to say about this, which is that, I'll get to this slide later. What I want to say is that we need to take services that attempt to bring people together seriously. Like you might say, it's just a dating service. It's not as, critical as the plumbing in your house, the electrical systems in your house, or your health with health care. Really? Is that true? Our happiness depends more on the people we are with and whether they are real friends instead of deal friends. I'm quoting here from Arthur Brooks, who's done some brilliant work, professor at Harvard, on what makes people happy. And relationships are critical, and the kinds of friendships we have. And this is a phrase he uses. Do you have real friends or deal friends? You can kind of figure out. Deal friends is like transactional stuff, people you get material benefits from. Forming meaningful relationships with people we care about is critical for physical health, for longevity. There's tons of research on this. In fact, our happiness depends just in many ways more on this than our worldly success, according to research of many people. So we really shouldn't just look at these dating sites. I don't think we should, as some trivial, just fun thing. It's the way people are connecting. And I think it deserves more, you might say, respect, more seriousness, and more application of things that would really help people. And we can use modern ideas for how we understand things. We go through the database, we apply it with clients, we get a full insight. This is what the universities are doing when they're doing psychology. They're looking at brain scans, they're looking at the biochemistry, they're looking at longevity studies, they're looking at so many things to figure it out, and they're making progress. Astrology needs to wake up and stop being just a little game for kids. Parlor game is what people like to refer to it. And we are already doing this, and it needs to be utilized. So having something like Bumble, a dating service that brings in $1 trillion a year, and people are selecting, you might say, okay, it's just their choice. But are you going to give people the choice to use something that just has no support for it, and they just can live in this illusion that this is going to be helpful and keep projecting into it what they want to see. I'm not saying that we know absolutely and definitely that zodiac signs don't work. What I'm saying is that in modern professions, we use the best knowledge available, the best information available. The best information available is that there's no support for it. And on top of that, there is support for other astrological things. Wow. So if you're anti-astrology and you think astrology is superstition, you might go, well, I don't believe there could be any support. Well, read the research, and if you're at the other extreme, you're an astrologer, say, oh, all that science stuff, it doesn't matter. I know my brother's got this Aquarius and my sister's got this Leo and my girlfriend has whatever. And you're just basing it on your personal experience and you're so sure of everything because of your personal experience. That's not enough in modern times. We need to look at it more carefully and analyze and critique exactly how do you come up with these conclusions. And when you do analyze it carefully, you find all kinds of problems. Okay, back to this slide that I skipped over. Let me mention this, full disclosure. Whenever you discuss a topic, you should always mention whether you have any investments or relationship to the field. I do. I'm currently working with a team of people on an astrological compatibility report. We're going to be working on we've started work on the dating service as well that uses what we call evidence-based astrology. I know that term, evidence-based astrology, can sound like an oxymoron, like astrology is not evidence-based. Well, there is evidence-based astrology, meaning that we use the same methods that are used in other academic areas. We collect data, we analyze, we have databases, like over 20,000 couples. We build models, we test them with new data, the whole works. We've had huge success understanding bipolar disorder, and I wrote a book about that, The Astrology of Bipolar Disorder, a Scientific Breakthrough. And we're working in other areas like compatibility to try to understand if there's an astrological, if there are astrological variables related to it. And so far it appears that there are. We're not as far along as we are with the bipolar disorder research, but the models are being built and tested. So the proliferation of pop astrology using things like sun signs is not just innocent fun, in my opinion. As I talked about, relationships are important, and people are sucked into a glamorous and seemingly spiritually inspiring language that simply provides incorrect information. In addition to this quantitative research, we've done research, extreme case sampling research, where we, in a database of tens of thousands of celebrities, we find the celebrity who has the most Leo, the most Virgo, the most Libra, the most of a sign. We see what's going on in their lives. We see what the consistent themes are. And from that research, what we found is that there does appear to be consistent themes in people's lives, but they're not exactly the same, quite a bit different from what astrologers say. And there's all kinds of reasons why this extreme case sampling is more informative than just random experiences with clients and people. It's the same kind of research method that's used to make discoveries in genetics, for example. So we're using modern cutting-edge research methods to find out what's going on with astrology. What are we finding out? That a lot of the popular ideas, like the use of signs for compatibility, we can get no support for it. Maybe somewhere down the line, by some miracle, somebody will find something that works with it. But we've tried and we've tried and we've tried using huge databases to detect very subtle things, no support. And there are other things that standing out very strongly, using all of the principles of modern research methods. If you're a researcher, you say, oh, you can always get any probability value you want. You can build regression equations with, that's true. We're not playing games. We're not doing that. No, we're building things on theory, building it piece by piece by piece. We're doing this carefully, slowly, skeptically to find something. And we're finding things. Okay, so again, we need to take services that attempt to bring people together seriously. Our happiness depends on the people we are with. Okay, so that's it, my friends. I just wanted to update you on this news. Whenever something happens in astrology in the news, people often ask me, what do you think of this? As a person who kind of stands in the middle, I've got one foot in technology and data science. I have a master's degree in research and evaluation methods and all this stuff, and another foot in the field of astrology and marrying data science with astrology, this whole new world. So as somebody who's embracing all of that, where do I stand? What do I see going on? How does it relate to real progress and getting out of a lot of the nonsense that goes on with astrology and the consequent harm that comes from it? Bottom line, things like the Astrology Tuesdays is harmful. It's well-intentioned. The people behind this are very well-intentioned. They have very good hearts. They experience the astrology. They have very goodwill. It's not maliciously intended. They're not in it just for the money. I'm familiar with what's going on with these things. But it's just wrong. I mean, you can have good intentions, but if you don't do the hard work, if you're just going to depend on your personal experience, and that's it, and the experience of your friends, and the validation that you think you're getting, it's very superficial, even though it seems like it isn't. People say, oh, it's not superficial. I've done 20,000 interviews. Well, I've been in this field for many decades, and there are ways that we fool ourselves and we bend things. As with anything, we need to study it carefully in a detailed way and critically analyze it with peer review and come up with solid conclusions, and that is happening. Okay. For example, you can go to cosmobiology.org. That's the nonprofit institute that's doing real research in this kind of areas of what people call astrology. But it's not astrology as people know it because it's very evidence-based. Okay, so thank you very much. That's it for this video on this development with the dating app Bumble. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much. It helps tremendously. I also have a membership where you can meet with me once a month live with questions and answers. Another level of the membership where we meet twice a month. So that's available as well. Those are memberships that you pay for. But I've made over 700 videos. They're all free. They're just out there for you to use. So if you just subscribe, it's tremendously helpful as well. Okay, there's some information here. You can pause this. It tells you about the memberships and so on and how you can become a member. Okay, thank you very much, my friends. God bless. Namaste.